Former Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce has resigned from the National Party. Speculation had been brewing for months that he would leave after a 20-year career with the Nats. Shortly after making the announcement this afternoon, a seemingly emotional Joyce spoke with the media.
Look, it's really, in any relationship, when it breaks down, you just got to get to a point where you either live in sort of bitter recrimination and continue on with it, or you get out of it. And I think that's what I'm doing today, is I'm getting out of it.
You know, I'm not usually a fan of politicians leaving the party that they were elected to. I've spoken about this before. But on this, I think he's got a point. And he makes a few more points along the way. I want to take you through it, because Joyce then went into a little bit of detail on why he's been thinking of leaving the National Party for a while now.
I don't pretend to be a sort of a Delphic oracle of what happens in the future. I don't know. You just try to do the best. But it's after 30 years in the National Party, it's certainly not a decision I took lightly. It's not as if I fell over at the first hurdle. I've been trying to work a way through this for a long period of time, say a couple of years, and I've just, there seemed no real resolution to the breakdown in the relationship, and therefore the smartest thing to do is move on.
And that breakdown of the relationship, he's obviously talking about with Nats leader David Littleproud, and there's going to be more on that. But I really have some sympathy for him. And I get where he's coming from, because loyalty is a two-way street. You cannot expect loyalty from someone if you don't give it back. And I'd argue that while I'm usually of the view that if you're elected as part of a party, people are voting for that party. If you run as a Labor member, a lot of people are voting because you are Labor, same as if you're Liberal. And of course, that's been the case over the years with the Nats. But I think Barnaby Joyce is actually bigger than the party. He's loved in his electorate. But next, a journalist asked Joyce whether he had left the National Party or had the National Party left him.
It's just, quite obvious. And you would have seen it. When they talk about generational change, that's code for get out of here. I don't think I have had a question in there for the last 1.5 years. I mean, you just got to read all the messages, and where you sit, quite obviously, is a metaphor. And I actually was asked directly to leave, and so you get to a point where you think, am I just going to continue on being the discordant note, or am I going to get out? That's smart. Peter Dutton, twice.
Asked you to leave the party.
Has Susan Lee asked you anything similar?
No, of course not.
That is extraordinary. Peter Dutton was the leader of the Liberal Party. He should not be interfering with the National Party. It is outrageous that he asked Barnaby to leave not once, but twice. That's not on. But look, Tim Lester from Channel 7, he asked the best question of the day, and it cuts to the heart of an issue I have with politicians resigning. I've been talking about this from parties while still in office.
What do you say to National Party supporters who campaigned for you and who, when they voted Barnaby Joyce, thought they were voting for the Nationals and the coalition by extension?
Very good question. I'm not standing for New England again, so I'm not becoming, I'm not sort of taking New England into an independent seat. I'm handing it over, and I'm actually doing it with a lot of money that I've brought into the bank for them to actually campaign with. And I can't do much more than that. You can say, I will serve out my term to the best of my abilities, and that's what I'm going to do.
I agree with him. There's not much more he can do. He's literally been asked to leave the party. He has no relationship with the leader of the party. The leader of the party has actively pushed him up the back. I mean, Barnaby Joyce is one of the biggest names in Australian politics. He appears on Sunrise every week. He appears on so many other shows, and you're punting him up the back? Loyalty, as I said, is a two-way street. And the fact that he has banked a lot of money as part of a campaign fund and he's going to hand that over to the next person, that's admirable. And I've had issues with Barnaby Joyce. Him getting up in arms about his personal life being put out on the front page when his partner, or now partner, wife, Vicky Campion was pregnant. He's been passed out on the street He's been drunk in Parliament. But I think he's pretty reasonable with all this, and it's obviously a huge decision for him. But of course, there's all this rumour about him going to One Nation. And, as journalists did, and should do, they asked him about that.
One Nation says that it is, that it, or we believe, would offer you a Senate seat in New South Wales at the next election. Does standing for the Senate again for One Nation at the next election remain?
I'm certainly considering that. Okay, strongly considering it.
Sorry, Barnaby, I missed the beginning. Are you an independent now?
I've resigned from the National Party.
National Party, so you're sitting as an independent.
I wanted to get. I left it to this day because I just wanted to get out of the building.
Why? What are you still considering in terms of the next step? This
I don't know.
plan you've been talking about for months with politics.
Yeah.
Why not just be honest about what your next move is?
Because I haven't made that decision. Why do you try and verbal me? I haven't made that decision yet.
What are you weighing up?
To me.
You said at one point about a month ago you didn't want to sit as an independent, that you believe in the
Yeah,
party
that's right.
mechanics. So is your determination to find a political home before Parliament sits next year?
I'm still weighing up all opportunities. Like it might be in business, might be out.
And so did you consider just resigning, pumping a by-election, and if not, why not?
No, because I said at the start that I wouldn't. They've asked me at the start in New England, would you resign during this term? I think a lot of people in New England knew that this would be my last. I've made it quite clear to lots of people in New England that this is my last term in New England.
Tony Abbott called you the best retail politician in Australia. You're a former Deputy Prime Minister. The prospect of joining a fringe party with someone like Pauline Hanson, isn't that a bit weird?
Not really. I haven't done that, but let's.
That's what you're doing.
The world's changing. You know, you take it in 1975. We're talking about Gough Whitlam. 102 out of the 127 seats were won on primaries, solely on primaries. The last election, 11 out of 150 were won on primaries. The world's changed. Politics has changed. The way people get media has changed. Your job's changed. You know, they're going online. It's different. It's echo chambers. And you can't rage against it and say, oh, well, they're all going to come back and read broadsheets and that's it. It's all changed, and you can either change with it or get run over by it.
So it's a new era for One Nation.
I think it's a new era for everybody, isn't it?
Certainly is. And he's right. This show didn't exist when he entered politics, and no show like this. Now, YouTube is full of opinion shows. We're creating a community here where we're actually explaining things. It's funny, Amanda and I were talking the other day about news services, and I come away from the 6 p.m. news not really understanding stories, and I actually play longer grabs from people than what the news will do. The news will do a 10-second grab, but I think we lose context. I don't actually understand the story. There are sometimes a news story is compacted so much that I don't actually understand what's going on. So that's what I try to do differently here. He gets it. He knows the world's changing. And I come back to that loyalty. Why should he be loyal to people that aren't being loyal to him? And on that note, it has not taken long for the Nats to turn on him. This is Matt Canavan on the Today Show. I think it was yesterday when the issue of Joyce possibly leaving the Nats was discussed.
I want Barnaby to stay in the team. I think it's much more effective to their team. We've seen this week what a circus act One Nation is, and it might entertain, but it doesn't change anything. Ultimately, One Nation are much more about the outrage and much less about the outcome. I'll do my best to keep him part of the team. And if he's not, well, he's a political opponent. So on the football field, got to make the tackles.
We'll tackle you. Now, if you become my political enemy, we are coming for you. And if that was too subtle for you, according to Sky News, former National Senator John Wacka Williams sent this text message to Joyce. Barnaby, after 20 years of political friendship, if you join One Nation, then you will make me a political enemy. I'll hold you in the same regard as Tony Windsor. Your call. And Williams didn't back down when he spoke on Sky News this afternoon, shortly after Joyce made his announcement.
If Barnaby decides to stay in politics, no doubt he'll run for One Nation on a Senate ticket in New South Wales. He made that point today in the media address he did after his 90-second speech in the courtyard. And if he does that, well, he'll be a political opponent. The sad thing is this, Ashley. Barnaby's been a great local member. He's achieved so much for New England. But the National Party branch members and the supporters will remember Barnaby as one who went in the 2025 election as a Nationals member for New England, deserted us and went independent, which he said he would never do. And that'll be his legacy, how he defected from the National Party. That'll be the sad thing he'll be remembered for by so many people.
Well, I call bullshit on that. I mean, I agree with the idea that he ran as a Nat and people voted for him as a Nat, but I'll come back to it again, I do think Barnaby Joyce is bigger as a candidate than the National Party in New England. So this bullshit of his legacy will be that he abandoned the party. If the party abandons him, why shouldn't he abandon the party? Again, loyalty has to be a two-way street. I will be loyal to you. I will give you everything, but you do me wrong and I'm out. You know, it's got to work both ways. But finally, let's hear what Nationals leader David Littleproud had to say about the departure of Joyce.
Look, we're deeply disappointed Barnaby Joyce has made this decision. He's broken a contract with the people of New England and the National Party. When he decided to sit outside the National Party room, I rang him, made it very clear to him that he had a contribution to make to our party room until he resigned and retired at the next election. He asked me to give him time and space, and I've respected that. I've respected that by staying away and allowing him the time and space to make a decision, but I've reinforced in every public comment of our desire for Barnaby to rejoin our room.
Yeah, because you want the numbers. I mean, this isn't about friendship or you wanting him around. Barnaby's made it clear, you two don't get on. He hasn't had a question, what did he say? In a long time, he hasn't delivered one question in question time. And now he's made the decision that's right for him. I don't usually support people leaving a party that they were elected part of, but on this one, Barnaby, you've got my vote.
McKnight Tonight.